where's your equipment to do this? And they're like, oh, cutbacks. I use a plastic fork instead of a shovel. And it's like, well, what moron made that decision? Well, it was you, buddy. Hello, everybody. Neil Winteregg here with Matterhorn Business Development, joined today by our CEO, Dr. Greg Winteregg. He is a dentist and an author. You can find his book, Fun at Work, down below. And here on this channel, we like to do about 3 videos a week talking about being an executive, being a leader, profit first, selling, how to make more money, and some angry rants. Today is not an angry rant. Today is a serious video. We want to talk about becoming a better leader and becoming a better executive, and how that actually helps you with retention of your staff, finding the right type of people to hire. These are all topics that people always come to me with.
Well, and it really, in any business that I've ever worked with, employees, staffing, however you want to call it, is the number one issue. How do you find good staff, and how do you keep them? How do you train them? And I really think it's a cop-out nowadays to blame the millennial generation.
Now you can blame a lot of it. Just don't blame all of it.
Yeah, but being lazy and not wanting to work, and no goals or unreal goals, and they don't want to wait. I mean, honestly,
the people who complain the most about that are the worst leaders of the bunch.
They are.
So if you are constantly having a problem and can't find the right people, it's time to look at yourself.
That's right.
Because if you are hiring the wrong people, stop doing that, right? Like, I meet people all the time. It's like, oh, well, I needed my receptionist is not a good fit, and I need to get rid of them. How long have they been there? 5 years.
Exactly.
You've known for 5 years that you hired the wrong.
How long
person.
did you know she was the wrong person?
Right.
After
5
the first
years.
5. Yeah. After the first 5 days. So there are a few basics here that leaders have to accept the responsibility on.
Correct.
Because the moment you start blaming somebody else, you've completely taken yourself out of the formula.
Correct.
There's no way now that you can fix it.
So let's jump ahead really quickly. Let's look at something. I've done several videos about the retail apocalypse and how all these stores go under, and I haven't done all the research on every one of these stores that went under. There is, I'm sure, economic reasons that certain places would close. If you invented the buggy whip, you're not around much longer because the buggy whip has been stale-dated, right?
The 8-track player.
Yeah, the Atari has been outdated for some time, so that business has gone under, right? So let's look at something like Sears. Let's look at something like Kmart. Let's look at Toys R Us. I mean, Toys R Us should have been around longer than humanity. I mean, this store should never have gone anywhere.
Because people like to buy toys for their children.
Right, and it's not
there's
like
always a demand.
It's not like Amazon came in and now all of a sudden we just don't buy toys at toy stores anymore. That's terrible management. But here's what I can guarantee happened with all these companies. At a certain point, the CEOs, the executives of the organization, didn't actually understand what the jobs underneath them were. So if you're at the top of an organization, and between you and the guy all the way at the bottom, there's 80 positions. If you don't know what those positions are and how they do their jobs, you can't make decisions that actually benefit the whole company.
Yep.
So somebody like Sears, for instance, the new guy who's running it, I forget his name right now, but he's the CEO of a hedge fund, and he owns it because basically the hedge fund owned the most shares, and he's the de facto CEO and all this stuff. I'm sorry, but what does he know about retail?
Right.
Probably very little. So when he comes in as his first day as CEO and says, okay, that's it. We're going to stop doing this, and we're going to stop doing this, and we're going to make money. On paper, that probably makes sense. But when those directives come down to all these staff, what do they go? This is a moron.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
And so you actually affect all the jobs underneath you because you think that what you're doing is going to improve things. But the staff who do those jobs 40 hours a week go, this guy's a moron.
Well, and the way to describe it is detached.
Yeah.
So the CEO can be up here in, the nice suite, looking out over the city and the river and down in the park, and is detached from the business.
Right.
And the best example of this is when you watch some of these episodes of Undercover Boss.
That's a great example.
And the company has thousands, tens of thousands of people, and the people at the local franchise don't know who the CEO is, or sometimes if they do, they put a disguise on him. And he goes in and he's kind of like, so why are we doing it like this? And it's completely illogical to him.
Yeah.
And the person here is a good staff member who says, oh, it's just how I was taught how to do it. Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Or the best is when the CEO of the company's like, where's your equipment to do this? And they're like, oh, cutbacks. I use a plastic fork instead of a shovel. And it's like, well, what moron made that decision? Well, it was you, buddy. So now you're using the plastic fork instead of the shovel, right? And so it's a very interesting point because I like that show up until the last 10 minutes when it becomes a sob story.
Right.
It's kind of like every episode, come on, right? But here's the thing. What would happen if tomorrow you showed up at your office in a disguise and you became the undercover boss?
Yeah.
What problems would you find that are there, but you don't want to know about?
Right. Because it takes too much work. You have to come out of your ivory tower. You have to get down in there and get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And, our example here is you. You started working at the management company shredding when you were how old? 10?
13, probably younger. You
Yeah.
paid me $5 an hour to come in and shred, and to me that meant I could buy more video games.
And Abby was working, she was shredding when she was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And so if you take a look at the family-owned business as a model, there's a furniture store back in my hometown now that's on the 3rd generation. And you can just imagine, at night over the dinner table when the kids are 5, 6, 7, 8, they're hearing mom and dad talk about the business, and then, they come up and now they're 8, 9, 10 and they're shredding and they're out on the loading dock and they kind of grow up in the business. And then, they're 16, 18, 20 years old and turn around, they're the VP of whatever because they were trained at home, starting at the bottom and knew everything. So as an executive, there's a couple of points here. You have to know what's going on underneath you, and you can't be detached up in your ivory tower and making decisions without at least talking to the managers who are going to have to be executing these policy decisions.
Right.
You have to get the managers involved. They have the boots on the ground. They're right there on the front lines. So you have to know how to do the jobs, and you have to include your managers, and then you have to start acknowledging people. It has to be fun. There have to be rewards. There have to be quarterly games and bonuses, and you have to create a company culture, a corporate culture, and an environment where people like to show up to work.
Yeah.
Just thinking you're going to pay somebody an extra $1,000 a year and give them dental benefits is not going to make them happy. Because somebody pays them $1,001 a year with dental benefits, they're going to be leaving.
Yeah, if people are leaving your company to go somewhere else just because they have more money or better benefits, that's poor leadership right there. Because if people who love their jobs, they're going to stick around with you, and they know that you're going to take care of them. They know that you're going to be on their side. But if I'm leaving you because somebody across the street's going to pay me $1 more, let that person leave.
Yeah.
Because they're not there for you.
And you see this happen with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They got Steven Stamkos and Kucherov to stay for less money.
Right.
Hedman, these are their 3 top players. They stayed for less money to be part of this team.
The organization.
With a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. When they could have shopped themselves around and made millions more, they didn't care. So it starts at the top. You have to create this culture, but you have to know what's going on in your company.
And if you don't know what's going on, you should honestly take it from the perspective of, if I was on Undercover Boss, what would happen? What would happen if I went and I was the guy riding the back of the garbage truck for a day?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to go and do that.
That's right.
Because if you make decisions that affect 50% of your staff and you don't think about those consequences, you're going to have a revolt.
Right.
So go spend a day doing that job or studying, talking to those people, finding out what they need.
And just kind of to sum this up and end it off, any part of the company, any job that you shift over there and you're like, whew, don't have to worry about that anymore. That's the job, that's the function that is going to come right back at you and bite you. And it's what will take you down. So you have to be involved in everything. You have to understand everything down below you. And if you have to go right down in there and look over somebody's shoulder and do it with them for an hour or two,
don't be lazy about it.
Just
your
go down
time
and figure
invested,
it out.
You're much better off spending 2 hours of your day actually working with these employees than making a policy and writing it for 2 hours that has all these drastic consequences.
So when it comes to hiring, you focus on the purpose of the company with the applicant, and after they are there, you focus on retaining them by training them properly, understanding their job, and giving them what they need to succeed and win on their job. And they'll walk across hot coals for you.
Absolutely.
Starts at the top.
So don't be lazy.
Yep.
Learn all the jobs and positions underneath you and what they need to do their job and help them do their job better.
Yep.
And you're going to be fine.
Yep.
So that's what we have to say for today. We'll see you next time on the channel. If you're new here, give us a like, subscribe down below, and let's hear your thoughts underneath.
For sure.
We'll see you next time.